When we lose someone we love, the physical separation often feels like an insurmountable void. Yet throughout human history, spiritual teachers like Edgar have reminded us that consciousness continues beyond physical death. What appears as an ending is merely a transition, a shift from one state of being to another. The invisible breath of presence is perhaps the most common yet overlooked sign from beyond. These subtle whispers of energy manifest as unexpected intuitive flashes, gentle shivers down your spine that appear without explanation, or a sudden knowing that defies logical understanding. These are not mere psychological reactions to grief. They are authentic spiritual connections. Your loved ones who have crossed over exist in a different vibrational state, one that resonates at a higher frequency than our physical world. This difference in vibration explains why their presence is felt rather than seen with physical eyes. When you experience those moments of inexplicable certainty, when you just know they're near, trust that perception. Your soul recognizes what your rational mind cannot comprehend. The ancient wisdom traditions teach us that the soul never dies. It simply transitions. The energy that animated your loved one continues to exist in the cosmic tapestry of consciousness. This energy retains its unique signature, its distinctive pattern of love and connection that was established during physical life. That signature reaches out across the dimensional divide, touching your own energy field in moments of alignment. Pay attention to those times when you suddenly think of them for no apparent reason. These are not random neural firings or coincidences. They are moments of genuine contact. The veil between worlds is thinner than we realize, and those who have passed retain their ability to reach through that veil, especially to those with whom they share deep bonds of love. Your body serves as an antenna for these subtle energies. The goosebumps that arise when thinking of your loved one, the warmth that spreads across your chest in moments of remembrance, the tingling sensation at the crown of your head during quiet reflection. These are physiological responses to real spiritual contact. Your body knows what your mind questions. These sensations often intensify during times of emotional significance, birthdays, anniversaries, or moments when you need their guidance most. This is not coincidence, but conscious connection. Those who have crossed over retain awareness of your journey and choose moments of greatest receptivity or need to make their presence known. Learn to distinguish between the voice of grief and the voice of connection. Grief speaks the language of loss and absence. Connection speaks of continued presence and love. When you feel them near, when that certainty washes over you that they remain part of your life, you are experiencing the truth that transcends physical existence. The mystics and spiritual adepts throughout the ages have recognized that consciousness is not confined to the brain. It extends beyond the physical form, continuing its journey in realms that exist beyond our ordinary perception. Your loved ones haven't disappeared. They've simply moved beyond the range of your physical senses while remaining within reach of your spiritual awareness. In the silence of meditation, in the space between thoughts, in moments of surrender, this is when their presence becomes most palpable. Creating times of stillness in your life opens doorways for connection. When the mind quiets, when the constant chatter of thoughts subsides, you create space for their gentle energy to be felt and recognized. The signs in everyday life. The veil between worlds is not as impenetrable as we've been led to believe. Those who have crossed over often communicate through the physical world around us, using ordinary objects and everyday occurrences as instruments of connection. These manifestations are not random coincidences or figments of imagination. They are intentional communications from souls who continue to love and guide us from the other side. Objects that mysteriously move or appear in unexpected places carry profound significance. Perhaps you've searched extensively for an item, only to find it later in a place you've already checked multiple times. This is not forgetfulness or oversight. It is often a deliberate sign from a loved one, their way of saying, "I'm still participating in your life." The wedding ring that suddenly appears on your nightstand, the photograph that falls from a shelf during a moment of remembrance, the book that opens to a meaningful passage. These are not accidents, but purposeful communications. Electrical disturbances frequently serve as conduits for spiritual energy. When lights flicker without explanation, when a television or radio turns on spontaneously, when a phone rings with no caller identified, These moments often coincide with thoughts of your loved one or during times of emotional significance. The souls who have transitioned understand that electrical energy provides a pathway of least resistance for their influence to manifest in our physical dimension. Music carries vibrational frequencies that bridge dimensions. When a meaningful song plays unexpectedly, perhaps your loved one's favorite tune or a melody that carries shared memories, recognize this as a deliberate greeting. These musical messages often arrive at precisely the moments when you need comfort or guidance, when your heart is reaching out across the divide for reassurance. Birds and butterflies frequently serve as messengers from beyond. When a specific bird repeatedly appears outside your window, when a butterfly lingers near you with unusual persistence, when wildlife behaves in ways that defy their natural patterns, these are often vehicles of visitation. Many spiritual traditions recognize these creatures as symbols of the soul's freedom and transformation, making them perfect ambassadors between worlds. Numbers and patterns with personal significance repeatedly appearing in your awareness deserve your attention. The clock that reads 11:11 when you glance at it, the license plate that displays your loved one's birthday, the repeated appearance of numbers that held meaning in your shared life. These are not statistical anomalies, but deliberate communications. Those who have crossed over understand the language of synchronicity and use it fluently to remind you of their continued presence. Physical sensations that correspond to your loved one's unique energy signature offer irrefutable evidence of visitation. Perhaps you feel the distinctive pressure of their hand on your shoulder, detect their characteristic scent when no physical source is present, or experience the sensation of being embraced when alone. Your physical body serves as an instrument for detecting these subtle energies that transcend ordinary perception. The temperature around you may shift suddenly without environmental cause. Cold spots often indicate spiritual presence, as entities draw thermal energy from their surroundings to manifest more tangibly. Conversely, unexpected warmth spreading through your body, particularly around the heart center, frequently accompanies loving visitations from those who have crossed over. Technology often becomes a conduit for communication from beyond. Unexplained images appearing in photographs, meaningful text messages arriving from unknown numbers, computer files that open without human intervention. These technological anomalies reflect the ability of consciousness to influence electronic systems. Those who have transitioned quickly learn to utilize these modern pathways of connection. Dreams present perhaps the most direct channel for communication between worlds. When loved ones appear in dreams with messages that feel distinctly different from ordinary dream content, when the emotional resonance of these encounters lingers long after waking, when information is shared that you could not possibly know, these are authentic visitations, not mere subconscious processing. These signs in everyday life are not random or meaningless. They form a consistent pattern of communication for those willing to notice and receive. The language of spirit speaks through synchronicity, through meaningful coincidence, through the subtle manipulation of physical reality. When you recognize and acknowledge these signs, you strengthen the connection, inviting more frequent and clear communication. Trust your perceptions of these everyday signs. The rational mind will attempt to dismiss them, to explain them away through conventional reasoning. Yet the heart knows the truth of these connections, recognizing the distinctive energy signature of those we've loved. When you honor these signs as real communication, you open yourself to a continuing relationship that transcends physical boundaries, one that evolves and deepens despite the apparent separation of death. The portal of dreams. Dreams offer humanity the most profound and direct access to those who have crossed the threshold of physical existence. When we surrender to sleep, we temporarily release the constraints of three-dimensional awareness and enter realms where consciousness flows more freely between worlds. This twilight state of being serves as the sacred meeting ground where souls can commune without the limitations of physical form. The ancient wisdom traditions have long recognized dreams as gateways to spiritual dimensions. In this altered state of consciousness, the analytical mind, with all its doubts and restrictions, recedes, allowing the soul's perceptive abilities to expand. The rational boundaries that separate worlds during waking hours dissolve, creating the perfect conditions for authentic spiritual communion to occur. This is why visitation dreams from loved ones who have passed feel qualitatively different from ordinary dreams. because they are not products of your subconscious mind, but genuine encounters. Visitation dreams possess distinctive characteristics that set them apart from the brain's normal nighttime processing. They typically display extraordinary clarity and coherence, often feeling more real than physical reality itself. Colors appear more vibrant, emotions more intense, and details more precise. You may notice that your loved one appears healthy, radiant, and at peace, regardless of the condition in which they left their physical form. This reflects their true state of being in the spiritual dimensions, free from suffering and limitation. The emotional resonance of these dream encounters lingers long after waking, sometimes for days or even weeks. Unlike ordinary dreams that fade quickly from memory, these visitations remain crystalline in your awareness, impossible to dismiss or forget. This persistent impact occurs because these experiences engage your consciousness at a soul level, not merely the surface mind. They leave an energetic imprint that continues to reverberate through your being long after the encounter has ended. Communication in these dream meetings often transcends verbal exchange, relying instead on direct thought transfer and emotional resonance. Your loved one may speak without moving their lips, or you may simply know what they wish to convey without words being exchanged at all. This telepathic communion represents the authentic nature of spiritual communication, direct, immediate, and untethered from the limitations of physical language. When you awaken, your brain may translate these exchanges into words, but the original communication existed beyond verbal constructs. Many report receiving specific information or guidance in these dreams that they could not possibly have known through ordinary means. Perhaps your departed grandmother reveals the location of an important family document, or your friend shares insight about a situation that developed after their passing. These verifiable communications provide compelling evidence that these encounters represent something beyond the imagination or memory. They demonstrate the continued awareness and participation of those who have crossed over. Time functions differently in the dream state, reflecting the non-linear nature of spiritual dimensions. A brief dream encounter may contain hours of shared experience, or profound insights may be transmitted in what seems like mere moments. This temporal flexibility allows for deep healing and resolution to occur within the compressed framework of dream experience. Years of unspoken words can be exchanged, forgiveness granted, and love reaffirmed within what our physical watches would measure as minutes. Recurring themes or symbols often appear in these dream visitations, creating a consistent language of communication between you and your loved one. Perhaps they always meet you near water, or a particular flower appears whenever they are present. These symbolic constants serve as recognition signals, helping you distinguish authentic visitations from ordinary dreams. They represent the unique energetic signature of your relationship, continuing beyond physical separation. Those who have developed their spiritual awareness through meditation, prayer, or other contemplative practices often report more frequent and vivid dream visitations. This correlation exists because these practices naturally thin the veil between dimensions, enhancing your receptivity to subtle energies. By cultivating inner silence and presence during waking hours, you create more favorable conditions for connection during dream states. The more you quiet the analytical mind in daily life, the more clearly you can perceive beyond its limitations during sleep. Some spiritual traditions teach techniques for inducing or inviting dream visitations. Before sleep, you might set a clear intention to connect with your loved one, perhaps holding an object that belonged to them, or visualizing their face with loving attention. This focused awareness creates an energetic invitation, opening a channel of communication that their consciousness can more easily access. While such practices cannot force connection, they can significantly enhance receptivity. Dream journaling amplifies your awareness of these precious encounters. By recording dream experiences immediately upon waking, you strengthen neural pathways associated with dream recall and demonstrate to your subconscious mind that you value these communications. Over time, this practice increases both the frequency and clarity of visitation dreams as your entire being learns to serve as a more effective receiver for these subtle connections. The portal of dreams offers evidence that love truly transcends death. When your departed father holds you in his arms once more, when your child's laughter rings through the dreamscape, when your beloved partner walks beside you in landscapes of impossible beauty, These experiences provide soul-deep reassurance that the connections that matter most continue unbroken. The dream state reveals what the waking mind struggles to comprehend, that consciousness, identity, and love endure beyond the transition we call death. The call of the heart. The heart is not merely a physical organ pumping blood through your body. It is the spiritual center of your being, the seat of your deepest knowing, and the most powerful instrument for detecting the presence of those who have crossed the threshold between worlds. When you experience a sudden tightening in your chest, an unexpected wave of emotion, or an inexplicable feeling of warmth spreading through your heart center, you may be receiving direct communication from a loved one who continues to participate in your journey from beyond physical form. Modern science has begun to validate what ancient wisdom traditions have always known. The heart contains its own complex nervous system, sometimes called the heart-brain, capable of independent function and perception. This cardiac neural network processes information and responds to stimuli in ways that operate outside the domain of the rational mind. The electromagnetic field generated by the heart extends several feet beyond the physical body, creating an energetic sphere of influence and reception that serves as the perfect antenna for detecting subtle spiritual energies. This physiological understanding provides the scientific foundation for what spiritual experience has always confirmed, that the heart perceives what the rational mind cannot. When your loved one's consciousness approaches your energetic field, your heart responds before your thoughts can process the experience. This primal recognition manifests as physical sensations, a sudden quickening of pulse, a fluttering feeling in the chest, or a profound sense of expansion that seems to transcend the boundaries of your physical form. These heart-centered communications often arrive at moments of greatest significance, during important life transitions, when facing difficult decisions, or during times of celebration that your loved one would have shared in physical life. This timing is not coincidental, but intentional. Those who have crossed over retain awareness of your journey and choose moments of particular meaning to make their presence known. The sudden heart squeeze you feel while walking down the aisle, blowing out birthday candles, or welcoming a new life into the world carries their loving participation in these sacred moments. Emotional waves that seem disconnected from your immediate circumstances frequently signal spiritual presence. Perhaps you find yourself overwhelmed by joy while performing a mundane task, or tears spring to your eyes for no apparent reason. These emotional surges reflect the direct impact of your loved one's consciousness upon your energetic field. When their energy merges with yours, you experience their emotional state, their continued love, their joy at connecting, their compassion for your journey, as if it were your own. The energetic connection between souls who have shared profound bonds remains intact, regardless of physical separation. Death does not sever these connections, but transforms them, shifting them from the dense physical plane to the subtle energetic realms. This enduring link serves as the conduit through which heart-centered communication flows. When you think of your departed mother and immediately feel embraced by warmth, when memories of your child bring not only sadness but unexpected comfort, you are experiencing the continued flow of energy through these permanent soul connections. Many spiritual traditions teach that grief itself creates a powerful channel between worlds. The intense emotional energy generated by mourning acts as a beacon that those who have crossed over can perceive and respond to. When grief suddenly lifts for a moment, when the heaviness in your chest inexplicably lightens during a period of mourning, this often signals the direct intervention of your loved one, their attempt to comfort and reassure you of their continued existence and well-being. The language of the heart transcends cultural and linguistic boundaries. Regardless of belief system or background, human beings across the world report identical experiences of heart-centered communication from beyond. This universality speaks to the fundamental nature of these connections. They are not products of cultural conditioning or expectation, but authentic expressions of consciousness operating beyond physical limitations. The heart speaks a universal language that all souls recognize. Learning to distinguish between anxiety and authentic spiritual contact requires practice and discernment. Anxiety typically manifests as constriction, tightness, and uncomfortable pressure in the heart center, often accompanied by racing thoughts and physical tension. In contrast, contact from beyond typically brings a paradoxical combination of intensity and peace, a powerful emotion that nonetheless carries a quality of rightness and relief. With practice, this distinction becomes clearer, allowing you to recognize the unique signature of spiritual presence with greater confidence. Those who have developed heart-centered awareness through practices like meditation, prayer, or energy work often report more frequent and distinct experiences of these connections. By regularly directing attention to the heart center, by learning to quiet the analytical mind and inhabit the awareness of the heart, you naturally enhance your receptivity to these subtle communications. The heart, when attended to with reverence and consistency, becomes an increasingly sensitive instrument for detecting the presence of those who continue to love you from beyond the veil. Some spiritual teachers recommend simple practices to strengthen this channel of communication. Placing your hand over your heart while mentally speaking to your loved one creates a physical circuit that enhances energetic flow. Breathing deeply into the heart center while holding them in your awareness opens the energetic pathways through which their presence can be more clearly felt. These practices need not be elaborate. Simple, consistent attention to the heart creates the conditions for deeper connection. The call of the heart provides perhaps the most profound evidence that relationships transcend physical death. When your heart responds to the proximity of a consciousness no longer anchored in flesh, when you feel unmistakably embraced by a love that has no physical source, you experience directly the truth that ancient wisdom traditions have always taught. Love is not produced by the body, but merely expressed through it. When the physical vessel is laid aside, the essential connection, the love itself, remains undiminished, continuing to flow between souls across the seeming divide of worlds. Trust these heart-centered experiences as authentic communications. The rational mind will attempt to dismiss them as imagination or emotional projection, but the heart knows the truth of these connections. When you feel that unmistakable presence, when your heart expands with recognition beyond what circumstances can explain, you are not creating comfort for yourself. You are experiencing the continued reality of bonds that death cannot break. The heart perceives what truly matters, that love, once established between souls, creates a bridge that transcends all apparent separations, allowing for continued communion across the threshold between worlds. Perfumes and sounds from the invisible. Among the most compelling evidence of continued presence after physical transition comes through our sensory gateways of smell and hearing. These sensory channels serve as direct pathways between dimensions, allowing those who have crossed over to make their presence known in ways that bypass the analytical mind and register directly in our awareness. When you detect the distinctive scent of your grandmother's perfume, where no physical source exists, when you hear your name called in the unmistakable voice of a loved one who has passed, you are experiencing genuine contact across the veil that separates worlds. The olfactory sense, our ability to detect scents, holds a unique position in human physiology. Unlike other sensory information that must be processed through multiple neural filters before reaching conscious awareness, scent information travels directly to the limbic system, the emotional center of the brain. This direct pathway explains why scents trigger memories and emotions with such remarkable immediacy and power. Those in spirit form understand this biological reality and frequently utilize scents as their preferred method of announcing their presence. These olfactory visitations typically manifest through scents that held significance during physical life. The distinctive tobacco blend your grandfather smoked, the particular flower your mother loved, the unique cologne your partner wore. These scents appear suddenly, often in environments where such smells would be impossible. The fragrance of roses in a snow-covered garden, the aroma of baking cookies in an empty house, the scent of a specific perfume in a location your loved one never visited. The discrete, localized nature of these scents often defies physical explanation. They appear in concentrated form, sometimes in just one area of a room, then dissipate completely, rather than gradually fading as physical sense would. Auditory communications from beyond follow similar patterns of meaningful specificity. The voice that calls your name, often when you're alone or in a quiet space, carries the exact timbre and inflection of your loved one's physical voice. Sometimes these communications are more subtle, the distinctive laughter you hear from another room, the characteristic throat clearing or humming that identified their presence in life, the particular way they pronounced certain words. These sounds may be perceived internally, as if heard within your mind, or externally, as if originating in the physical environment around you. Both olfactory and auditory communications from beyond typically occur during moments of emotional significance or personal transition. These sensory experiences often arrive when you're facing important decisions, celebrating meaningful milestones, or navigating challenging circumstances. This timing reflects the continued awareness and participation of those who have crossed over. They remain cognizant of your journey and choose moments of greatest meaning or need to make their presence known through these sensory channels. The scientific understanding of these phenomena continues to evolve. Some researchers in consciousness studies suggest that consciousness itself does not originate in the brain, but is merely processed through it, a model that would allow for continued conscious existence after physical death. Others point to quantum entanglement as a possible mechanism for continued connection between consciousness that were once physically proximate. While science continues to expand its understanding of these experiences, millions of people across cultures and belief systems report remarkably consistent patterns of sensory contact from beyond, suggesting a universal phenomenon rather than mere psychological projection. What distinguishes authentic sensory communications from imagination or wishful thinking? Several characteristics help identify genuine contact. True sensory visitations typically arrive unexpectedly, rather than being consciously summoned. They often bring information or timing that holds specific meaning beyond what could be attributed to coincidence. They frequently trigger physiological responses, goosebumps, tears, or a quickening pulse that accompany the sensory perception. Perhaps most tellingly, they carry an unmistakable quality of recognition, a soul-deep knowing that transcends doubt and registers as absolute certainty in the moment of experience. The diversity of these sensory communications reflects the unique personalities of those who send them. A technically minded father might manipulate electronic devices to create sounds that announce his presence, while an artistic mother might create delicate scents or subtle sounds that reflect her aesthetic sensibilities. A playful sibling might generate sudden, attention-grabbing noises, while a gentle grandparent might produce the softest whisper of sound or fragrance. These communications carry not only evidence of continued existence, but the distinctive signature of the individual personality that you knew and loved. Those who have developed their spiritual sensitivity through consistent practice often report more frequent and distinct sensory communications from beyond. Regular meditation, prayer, or energy work naturally enhances your receptivity to subtle energies and trains your awareness to register impressions that might otherwise remain below the threshold of conscious perception. By cultivating inner silence and present moment awareness, you create optimal conditions for detecting the delicate sensory signals that announce the presence of those who continue to participate in your life from beyond physical form. These sensory experiences offer comfort that transcends intellectual understanding. When grief weighs heavily, when loneliness seems insurmountable, the sudden scent of your beloved's perfume or the whisper of your name in their voice provides soul-deep reassurance that death is not the end of connection, but merely a transformation of its expression. These moments of sensory contact remind us that the essential bond, the love itself, remains unbroken despite the apparent separation of worlds. Learning to create receptive conditions for these communications can enhance your awareness of them. Setting aside quiet time each day, free from technological distractions, creates space for subtle perceptions to register in your awareness. Speaking aloud to your loved ones, acknowledging their continued presence in your life, strengthens the energetic pathways through which communication can flow. Approaching these experiences with an attitude of peaceful expectancy, neither demanding contact nor dismissing its possibility, creates the ideal conditions for genuine connection. The perfumes and sounds from the invisible realm provide compelling evidence that consciousness continues beyond physical death. When you detect that distinctive scent that defined your mother's presence, when you hear your name called in your father's unmistakable voice, when your child's characteristic laughter echoes through an empty room, you are not experiencing mere memory or psychological comfort. You are receiving direct confirmation that those you love continue to exist, to love you, and to participate in your life from dimensions that exist beyond the limitations of physical form. Trust these sensory experiences as authentic communications. The analytical mind may attempt to dismiss them as imagination or coincidence, but deeper wisdom recognizes their validity. When that familiar scent or distinctive sound arrives at precisely the moment you need reassurance, when it carries the unmistakable energetic signature of your loved one, you are experiencing the truth that ancient wisdom has always taught, and that millions continue to confirm through direct experience. Love creates connections that transcend physical boundaries, allowing for continued communion across the threshold between worlds. Did these spiritual insights resonate with your own experiences? The signs from beyond are all around us. You need only open your heart to receive them. If this teaching has touched your soul or awakened recognition of the continued presence of your loved ones, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your subscription supports our mission to share these timeless spiritual truths with others who are seeking comfort and connection. Share your own experiences in the comments below. Each story strengthens our collective understanding of the eternal bonds that transcend physical separation. Have you felt the invisible breath of presence? Encountered meaningful signs in your everyday life? Perhaps you've received visitations through dreams or felt that unmistakable call of the heart. Remember, when we share our spiritual experiences, we create a tapestry of confirmation that brings comfort to others on similar journeys. Subscribe now and join our growing spiritual family as we explore the profound truth that love never dies. It simply transforms.